Hello and welcome back. Hey, the date is April 7th, 2021. My name is Sue Bldg. I'm a retired colonel, Army colonel. I'm also a whistleblower who has been temporarily shut down by social media. Why? Because they don't want us to tell on the State Department and the attorneys and DOJ and the VA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Why? Because they're corrupt. That's the bottom line up front. And when we expose them, what they did, those in Building 810, the attorneys, there's 41 of them, and the executives, they conspired and got their pawn, Von Sell, and what she did was she used manufactured evidence, police report, manufactured peace order that becomes a fake criminal charges, and we had to go in and out of fake criminal court. And the last couple of videos that I made generated a lot of questions. And it generated a lot of questions regarding people that are going through the same BS right now. And they're saying, hey, well, what can we do? Because we went to the Court of Appeals and they're waiting. Well, guys, it's a game. It's a trick. They're getting their little pawns to do their dirty little work. And what I want to talk about today is Building 810. Building 810 is filled with attorneys, and I'm going to prove this, that are corrupt. In our case in 2019, we did a Office of Whistleblower complaint on the VA because the EEOC process was rigged. And we worked with a girl by the name of Dana Diesel. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here for those that are going through the EEOC process in the government. If you're going through an EEOC process, I know for a fact because we went through it, and you're involved with the VA. What they're doing is they're taking your claims, they're throwing them out, and they're designing their own claims. And they're locking it into the Army Safe server, which means when you go to court, if you go to court, the only thing that the judge sees is their fake claims, not yours. So you got that? I've done another video on it, a thorough one, and you can see how they cheat the system, how they cheat the taxpayer, how they cheat the victim. And these pawns, the supervisors that comply, that aren't competent like Von Sell, what they do is they take their orders from Building 810, those attorneys control not just the whole process, but another system that they stood up called ORM. That's an organization. They've got hundreds of people working against you. And when I discovered what they were doing, I reported them. Okay, I'm going to stop right here because I want the people to understand. First, if you have reasonable accommodations and you're protected under Title II and Title III of the ADA, that means you have a disability because they're causing it, right? And you're protected. These reasonable accommodation documents cannot be sent via email to anybody's Hotmail account or to ORM. I want you to look at this. Von Sell says, Sue wants to put me in jail. Here's more information for your consideration. She's sending this private medical reasonable accommodation information as per their regulation must be in lock and key. She's sending it to ORM, and ORM is allowing her to bring it into court. These are court documents. That is against the ADA Interference Act, the ADA 1990. It is against NIST, National Security. And when I reported her to the state, you know what they said, the prosecutor? You know what he said? He said, we're not going to use those. What we're going to do is go into your business records and get it from your email. So how about that? That is against the law, guys. It's against NIST. So once again, guys, when you sue them in their own individual capacity and their official capacity, and you shut them down for violating your rights. They don't get to do that. And they're doing it while Building 810, all those attorneys are watching and laughing. And instead of spending millions and millions of dollars they get for the VA veterans and suicide prevention, They're wasting it on retaliation. They're wasting it on fake kangaroo court. And I refuse to allow the VA to investigate. So they hired a third party, the post office, and we found out the post office was being paid under the table, and they're just as corrupt as well. So you really have to pay attention to detail on everything that they send you, and you have to respond. It's administrative trickery. Okay, so enough said about the EEOC fraudulent process at the VA headquarters, where Building 810 is in control. Let's go back to the whistleblower, or the OAWP, the Office Accountability Whistleblower Protection. This is significant because the same person that they just hired as the Acting Assistant Secretary for Accountability and Whistleblower Protection is dangerous because he, once again, he was the investigator, right? So he is in control of Dana Deisel. And y'all know Dana Deisel. She is incompetent, right? Well, first of all, these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. They're criminals, professional criminals that need to be in Gitmo. Dana Deisel's boss is Mr. Cordero. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And he was an investigator in Building 810. He is now listed as the Acting Assistant Secretary for Accountability and Whistleblower Protection. This whistleblower protection is just a smokescreen. It's a fake whistleblower accountability organization that collects your information and uses it against you. And we had done several complaints, whistleblower complaints, and as of date, we have not received anything. We had to do a FOIA report, and they still didn't give us an updated whistleblower complaint. Why? Because everybody in D.C. worked together against you. And I want to share with you, like I shared with some of the folks that are asking questions and are going through the same thing that we're going through. I don't even know what you call it. It's criminality at its best. And we're dealing with the top leaders. We're asking, we became so desperate. We said, hey, DOD, wake up. And so this is what I want to share with you so you guys know what you're in for, because it is corrupt. We've got a criminal organization in D.C., and most of them are run out of Building 810. Okay, so next one I wanted to share with everyone is what is briefed at the Whistleblower Conference every year on Capitol Hill, because this corruption is not new, right? Everybody knows about it. Nobody's doing anything about it. So here we go. Okay, so this is the top items that is briefed at the Whistleblower Conference in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol building, sponsored by our senators, right? Okay, so this is how the 1% steals money from us. Elderly estate. They go in there and they take over the elderly estate, and they get that old money. They being the judges and the attorneys. Number two, they get the VA benefits. You got people at the VA headquarters, ORM, whistleblower as well. They get together and they steal VA benefits. You can follow my videos because I give you a demonstration on how they do it. What they do is they order other people to go in or take your social security number and then go into your medical records, your beneficiary medical records, and they manipulate the paperwork. This is true, and I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't have proof. I did videos on it from 2019 to date. And then also they talked about how they manipulate your children during the divorce courts. They either separate the children, separate the family, or they also take charge of the children and they put them in foster homes. And then they traffic. Traffic is not, it's hard to believe, but they do trafficking because it is a business. And then also they being the government, the employees, the lawyers, the judges. If you look at Amy Berman Jackson, she will show you that she's got stock in VA contracts. And what they do is they manipulate the government contracts. Instead of giving the contracts to the minorities, etc., the 1%, the contractors, they get these contracts. And how do they get the contracts? They get it by using a pawn that has the status. Either they're a minority, they're a veteran, and then they get the contract. And then once they get the contract, they bring in their people. And you see how they keep money within the 1%. And then also they perform, or they put on like the Wounded Warrior activity, like the Wounded Warrior games, the Invictus games. I know firsthand. Why? Because I'm a coach. I was a coach there, and I was a participant as well. And here's the one that I love the best, right? VA paid my way to be an ADA advocate, a counselor. My goal was to be an ADA counselor. Why? Because you don't need to be an attorney. You do not need to be an attorney to represent or help people, especially people that have legal abuse syndrome. And what these states are leading you to believe, and these judges are leading you to believe, is you have to be a certified attorney, you have to pass the bar. No, that stuff is corrupt. You can be an ADA advocate, and you can help those that are being trashed by people like those that are found in Building 810. Building 810 is bad. They set us up. I'm telling you, I'm not through with them. Controlling the Senate and Congress. What they do is the senators and congressmen are being blackmailed. For example, Ben Cardin and Roethlisberger. They're on my quo warranto. I put them on my quo warranto in June. So guess what? If you don't have a hearing, they're gone. So how is Roethlisberger? How did Roethlisberger win? He couldn't have won, right? Because you're on my quo warranto. All right. So they're cheating. They're cheating in an election. They're also cheating with their position. Number 10, standing up BS organizations like the Office of Whistleblower Protection and the FBI. I'm telling you, we had asked the FBI to get involved too many times to count, and they're ignoring the fact. They're ignoring the criminality. And I can also tell you, my Facebook friends, that the FBI watches your Facebook page, and they use that information against you, just like the Office of Protection Agency. They don't need this Office of Whistleblower Accountability Protection Agency. It's the hugest fraud ever. And the guy that they made as the new acting assistant secretary of accountability and whistleblower protection, he was the same guy in Building 810 who did everything against us, because Dana Diesel only takes her order from her boss, and he's no good. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to call him out. And so I don't know what VA is doing but playing games against veterans. And my message to VA and all of their corrupt employees, I call them the cabal, because they ordered Von Sell to go into our records within 10 days under the name of Cindy Boyd. And this affidavit is Von Sell saying we violated my family's privacy under the name of Cindy Boyd. I can never and won't ever get over that. And when you sue these guys, you sue them in their individual capacity and their official capacity. And then when you do a quo warranto, you shut their company down because they're breaking their charter. And it tees me off to sit here and watch these criminals operate our entire world, because that's what they're doing in my mind. And we have hard evidence to shut them down, and they're just hanging out, causing more deaths. At least that is what Tara Jones, their tort attorney who worked in Building 810, told me. She said, prepare to die. You're going to be run off the road until you're dead. And I said, that didn't even sound right. And then when I went to turn her in, because I told her, don't call me anymore because you're sick. And when I went to file a complaint against them, there is a tracking system that they use. And if your name appears in this tracking system, then bam, You cannot get equal protection under the law. And then here's another thing that the DOJ and Building 810 attorneys do. When they set you up, like how they set us up, and I wasn't even there, by the way, I was at home and I was found guilty, right? And so my oldest son, Lance, he was a process server, and you cannot touch a process server when you're serving a federal judge's summons. We were serving Amy Berman Jackson's summons to Von Sell, their pawn, and she and her husband assaulted my son and violated the ADA Interference Act because my husband was parked across the street and she announced out in the open, "You and your wife are stalkers and we got a protective order against you." She said this before she got the protective order. And I'm going to let you listen, see and listen, because we were found guilty for something she did. And then they covered it up. Okay, once again, I want you to know that I wasn't there. Number two, she is in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1501 violation. She will go to prison. Then she filed. 1 minute later, she called the police and filed a fake police report. Then when Robert and Lance got home at about 9 o'clock, I saw the video and I freaked out. And I called VA leaders, DOJ, folks in Building 810, sent all that stuff to them, and you know what happened. I told them she better not go and file a fake police report because she's so predictable. And what did she do at 11 o'clock? Well, around 7 after she was served, she filed a fake police report at 11 o'clock. After I told them not to have her file a fake peace order, that's what she did. And that fake peace order becomes criminal. And then she goes out and she files fake criminal charges. Using a third-party video, my ADA advocate, which is ADA interference, and then what does she do? She goes to court and she says that the DOJ, the VA attorneys in Building 810, and Amy Berman Jackson and her boss Angela Kendricks, they're trying to throw out our higher district court case against them. Now, what kind of criminal... And it's not a conspiracy because this is fact. She says it under oath. She says it under oath on the 6th of June. She says it under oath on the 13th of June, 9th of July, during a reconsideration hearing that I tried to recuse that judge. They're all in it together, guys. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And it is a joke. But what they do is they cause legal abuse syndrome, which is a crime. So they're criminals. These guys are professionals and they know what they're doing. They're criminal. And DOD, you need to stop them because you're going to be a veteran soon too. Now look again. Before she filed the fake criminal charges, I asked all the leaders, everybody in VA. I said, can you stop her? She's gone mad. And what do? They don't stop her. They allow her to file the fake criminal charges using an ADA third party. And that's against federal law, right? And not only that, she says she wants us to go to prison for 90 days. Why? Why do I gotta go to prison for 90 days? I wasn't even there. She violated ADA Interference Act. She was the criminal. This is crazy, but guess what, guys? They will put you in jail because we got the world's largest jails, cells, right? And they're for black, brown whistleblowers. They're not for the 1%. They're not for those criminals in Building 810 and DOJ and at the State Department. They're for us. So you feel me? You can't make this stuff up. And it's predictable because they're doing it not just to us, they're doing it to everyone. I get phone calls and emails and Facebook responses, and we're not the only one. Okay, so go back to the order. This is what pisses me off the most. When it says, you will not rape, Robert and I will not rape Von Zell. I don't rape. That's number one. She may rape, I don't rape. And this teased me off because I take pride in what I do and what I say. And to have and to read that on an order, it just blows my mind. It's unacceptable. And trust me, I'm not letting anybody get off on that one. And at any rate, what they do, they being Building 810, DOJ, and the 1% leaders, they use pawns for their criminality. And Boncel is a pawn. And let's just move forward and know that this is what we're up against. We're up against treason. These guys are nothing but traitors, Nazis. There's no excuse for leaders to put us through this nonsense. And they got a mission. Their mission is to crush the whistleblower. Okay, so what else do these guys do in Building 810? They use third parties against you. For example, they paid under the table the post office to investigate, and they commit mail fraud. They go in the mail and they redivert your mail to whomever they want. And we got proof. And when we busted them out, Elizabeth Hawkins gave in and she retired. And she said, what you need to do, Sue, don't hurt me, don't sue me, sue the post office. Because the post office is just as guilty as the VA. And we said, oh, okay. And she said, don't forget to file a Form 95 on the post office. I said, okay. And then what happened? DOJ said, well, I'm going to defend the post office. And I said, Alan, you're BSing me again. Come on, guy. Come on. Give me a little bit of credit. And he said, okay, you got me. And I said, dang, doggone it, you guys. Why don't you guys just follow your own rules? You write the policies. You guys got us good, don't you? And he didn't say anything. What he did was he used the fake peace order, the manufactured evidence, and tried to give it to Amy Berman Jackson to throw out her case. And not only did he use our claims, he went way back in 2018 and took 9 fake fabricated claims and said, oh, let's throw out your 300 claims against us and 100 defendants or 111 of defendants, and let's just use this. And Amy Berman Jackson said, okay. And so, Sue, by the way, I'm going to throw you out your own case. And I'm like, no, you're not, young lady. You got stock in VA. This is so ridiculous, guys. And then what makes it worse is she severs our case. She splits it up. And she goes after. They use the other attorney generals. And they go after my son that's in Idaho. And they order him to come to fake kangaroo court in Texas. And then we get a really good judge and a clerk that sees what's going on. He looks in the computer, the tracking system, and he says, this is what's happening to you guys. And he said, you're being set up, Lance. You're being set up by these guys in August. And he said, if I was a judge, and I am, do not come here to fake kangaroo court because they're going to put you in jail. Why? Because Lance is the one that got assaulted when he was serving Amy Berman Jackson's order, the summons to Boncel. And if Boncel violates that order, that summons, it's 18 U.S.C. 1501. And then that Lance, when he is on the witness stand, can tell on all of them, and that will put them in jail for 10 to 20 years. Because you can't conspire and use manufactured evidence. So what they did was they went after Lance. And when I found out that, all hell broke loose. You know, don't mess with my children. Mess with me. Keep my children out of it. And don't run him off the road. And don't cut his steering wheel pump. And then when I did a co-warrant tow on Amy Berman Jackson, she had already severed the case in September 19. Or in 2019. And so she's out of it. Right? And so she pops up, even though she's on my co-warrant tow on 18th of May, and the people that tried to run us off the road, they settle with us. So when they settle with us, we take them off of our claim, and Amy Berman Jackson comes back and she writes an order for Moss, right? For Moss, because she severed the case in September 2019. she says, oh, okay, yeah, sure. They can be dismissed. I'm like, what kind of game are you playing, gal? You're not supposed to come back when we're waiting for higher court decision, a hearing. And she ignores it. And by this point in time, Moss didn't say anything because I told him I was going to take leave of the court in February 2020 and add him as a defendant. So Moss backs off, right? And to stall time, the Court of Appeals get their little baby clerks, and on the 26th of June, like I said before, they try to pass law and sign and deny our orders and give an opinion. And I'm like, no, baby clerks don't give opinions and write laws. You have to have 3 judges sign that order. It has to look like this. If it doesn't look like this, you're being played. Yep, you're being played. There's somebody that contacted me and said, yeah, I did my quo warranto, or I'm at the Court of Appeals and they're late. Well, they're late because they're playing with you. This is a whole trick. It's a rich man's game, right? It's a business. They steal your money, and after they steal your money, they drag you through the mud, make you pay, make you play administrative trickery. Some people call it administrative effery, and it's just a game. And then what did they do on the 26th of August? They have the baby clerk sign the same order, right? A different clerk, but she's signing an order denying it. And then on top of that, then they go on the 29th of October, because I'm complaining, I never consent. And they said, well, you better give up because we don't want to pay attention to you anymore. And then what's really interesting, I put the judges on my quo warranto in June. Those 3 judges that allowed that clerk to sign that order on the 26th of June, I put the 3 judges on my quo warranto, and all of a sudden, one of the judges, they retire on the 1st of September. So unless he went and did time traveling on the 29th of October, all this stuff is messed up. You had another clerk sign it. And that's why they are constantly, even the Supreme Court clerk, that's why she had to go all the way back to the 26th of August and say, oh, well, you're late. She didn't use the 29th of October or my response or my appeal because they discriminated, right? On the 16th of November. And I called them, I said, what's going on? And they said, well, we were told not to take any of your orders. And I said, look, you got to take my orders or my motions because you did an oath. Your oath says you will collect everything and post it on the record. And so I can talk forever about the corruption, but you guys know, you've been following me, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, I want to note this for the record, we sent them 4 boxes. They sent us 3 back, which means they've got 1. 1 box is missing, and they took my money. Guess what, guys? It's by law they have to keep everything. And this is significant because unless you consent, it's on. Okay, so let's go back to the Whistleblower Conference on Capitol Hill, what they discussed. They also discuss how they purchase third parties. They take tax dollars, your tax dollars, and they purchase third parties like workers' comp. Like, for example, if you do a OSHA investigation or you request an OSHA investigation, they will tell you no, especially if they're harming you or they harmed you. For example, in my case, they harmed my husband. They ordered him back to work against a board-certified doctor's orders to harm him. Then when he suffered a stroke 6 weeks later, I asked for an OSHA investigation. They will not do an OSHA investigation because an OSHA investigation generates a workers' comp and a senator's safety report. Now, we're having problems with the State Department because not only are they not initiating or showing the harm that they're doing to us. I got an ADA client in Japan that they illegally experimented on, Nazi style. And this is no joke. We got hard evidence, and right now, They will not. Japan will not come clean. Well, they say they're going to come clean on the 16th of April. We shall see. And my problem is with the State Department. There needs to be an investigation of the State Department and their pay to play. Everybody needs to go into their financials and scrub it, because what they're doing is they're getting money either from government contracts, pay to play, and mess like what they did, and I don't mean to laugh, it just blows my mind. Jimmy and James Ryan. Unbelievable. And when I say they, I'm talking about the State Department, and the tort section is discriminating against Jimmy and James. They gave Robert and me my right to sue the United States. They gave us that letter. We're waiting for them because they're late. And the FBI, CIA, everybody and their brother knows about Jimmy and James. And what they're trying to do in Japan, from what I'm hearing, is these attorneys, once again, these Japan attorneys, what they're doing is saying, hey, Jimmy and James, you don't have a court case. Yes, you do. You got a court case. And they're trying to scare them into believing or giving up their rights. Jimmy and James Ryan, you have a court case, and it is open. We are waiting for the tort section. We asked the State Department. We asked the State Department and the Treasury. We said, look, take this executive order, use it against Japan. The State Department is violating human rights. That's the bottom line up front. 18 U.S.C. 1001 said you either did it or you didn't. And we can prove that they did it. And not only did they did it, they are conspiring against Americans, service-disabled veterans. I take pride in what I say and what I do. I don't need criminals, Nazi-style criminals, telling the world and defaming my character. If you know me, if you know my husband, helping veterans, helping others is not what we do, it's who we are. And I want everybody to stand up for the rights, because we need to keep the lines of communication open. We have to constantly show these people, show their picture, because you got to do the opposite. The insiders in DC said in order to highlight their criminality, you show their pictures and you provide hard evidence. And that's what I've been trying to do for the last 4 years. Why? Because at the end of the day, higher Supreme Court says sue them. Sue them in their own individual capacity and their official capacity. Shut their operation down and do it now, because we don't want you to go through the same thing that we've gone through. Don't you send your kid to Japan, because if you do, that's child abuse, right? It's child abuse. You know from me, I'm giving you hard evidence. This is what they did to Jimmy Ryan. They're hiding it right now. And guess what? Our leaders are supporting them. Our top leaders, the State Department. And we got a problem there. And we can resolve the issue. Quo warranto, get them out of office. Okay, so the last two items that they discussed at the Whistleblower Conferences, they use the IRS against you, because one of the things that they want to do is take away all your money so you can't fight back. And then they go out and, for example, for us, they had the IRS say, oh, well, you owe $6,000 here, $100,000. I'm like, no, I don't, IRS. You can't go back but 3 years anyway. And you went back 2009. And then they said, you're right. Oh, you know why they said you're right? Because I said I will take leave the court and I will add the IRS on our quo warranto, and I'll shut your operation down because it's phony too. We just have a corrupt system. And finally, I always discuss Executive Order 12196. It is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? It's like the Whistleblower Accountability Office. It's dangerous because it allows the corrupt organization, Building 810, the VA headquarters, DOJ, etc., to investigate themselves. That's why you will never win. And OSHA stood up when I told him, when Robert had a stroke, I told him, I said, you know what? In the military, I was also OSHA certified. So I know your job, and I'm telling you, there's corruption at Building 810 and at VA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Somebody needs to investigate them and shut them down. And OSHA said, we can't. I said, why? I said, I have my husband in the hospital who is not my husband. He's saying things and doing things that he would otherwise not do. And I said, if he dies, I'm coming after you. And I'm taking everything you got. Now, keep in mind, Robert's younger brother died after his stroke. VA knows this. But yet, what they do is they invite him back to work against a board-certified doctor's orders to harm him, not once, but twice. They did it on the 18th of June and the 2nd of April. 2nd of April was very significant because on the 29th of January 2019, Austin and I wanted the abuse to stop. So what did we do? We filed against them. And when we filed against them, you got Amy Berman Jackson telling her baby clerk to tell us, do not issue the summons. Do you know when she issued or gave us permission to issue the summons? On the 2nd of April, when I went down there and they were trying to put me in jail for submitting Robert's resignation. Isn't that interesting? She did it on the 2nd of April. And then not only that, 2 days later, the DOJ said, okay, well, I am the defense attorney for all these people who violate your constitutional rights. Who cares what the Westfall Act says? And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to ask Amy Berman Jackson to deny your reasonable accommodation. We're just going to collect all kinds of ADA funds, and we're going to tell the public that we're here and we're doing everything we can so you can have equal access into the court. And we don't even care what Title II, Title III, and Lane versus Tennessee says. We're just going to violate your rights and try to dismiss your case. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, we got a mess on our hands here. We do. And not only that, on the 29th of January, I got to say, they have electronic filing. They pay for it. And what's really interesting is when you know, this is briefed at the Whistleblower Conference too, when you file against these people, doesn't matter what state you're in, instantly they know what you're doing. You want to know why? Because they have access into electronic filing. The baby clerks call them. How do I know? Because I got insiders. When we filed on the 29th of January 2019, an insider contacted me and said they had an emergency meeting, and what they're doing is they're moving the leadership, those that are on your claim. And then also, I got a phone call. You know who I got a phone call from? I got a phone call from DOD on the 29th. You want to know why? Because I told them. I said on the 26th, I said, Admiral French, Christopher French, and General Dunford, sir, please stop this mess at VA headquarters. You're going to be a veteran soon. You have an obligation. They are locking in fake claims in the Army safety server. And if you don't fix it, I'm going to leave the court, or I'm going to go down to DC and I will add you on, because guess what? When you see something, you do something. You cannot send our soldiers overseas to fight a rich man's war and tell them to be brave and to obey orders when you know you're not doing it yourself. So, guys, fix the problem. Come on, you need more women on your team. Yes, I said women, because the men are dragging their feet. They're dragging their feet, guys. It doesn't take a woman to constantly tell you your job. And these people that are harming people, harming kids, harming disabled, harming veterans, gotta go. They gotta go. We've got the most jails on this God's green earth. Put the people, the white-collar people, in those jails where they belong, all of them. So, until next time, I hope this answers a lot of your questions. Why do I fight so hard? I fight so hard because we know what right looks like, guys, and we're never in the business of harming. So until next time, this is Sue, out.